What's up, everybody? Tom Pelissero, Judd Zulgad here across the street from Vikings headquarters on Friday. Huge news today. Huge, Judd. Cullen Loeffler.
Finally gets done.
He's sticking around.
You know, about every 4 years, the Vikings come out with a major announcement that Cullen Loeffler, their long snapper, has signed a contract.
It was 5 years ago to today.
Very important.
Yeah, the last one.
Now, and Tom, at the start of the season, didn't you see it this way? The Vikings would be 0-4. They would have locked up Chad Greenway, Adrian Peterson, and I told you all along, the X factor, Cullen Loeffler.
Oh, and it is important. I'm sure it was a low money deal. We don't have the terms on it yet, but a 3-year extension. He's a guy who, the more that you don't know who Cullen Loeffler is, that means that he's doing his job well. On the bigger things, though, so they're 0-4 going into this game at the Metrodome on Sunday. Antoine Winfield at this point listed as doubtful for the game. He's got a neck injury. Frazier said that he's showing improvement, but I don't expect him to go out there, and in part, I think that the coaches are putting this on Antoine Winfield, and they'd like him to get up for the game.
Right.
But if you're Winfield, I think it's only understandable that you'd say, you're 0-4, this probably isn't going to make or break you, and if you're worried about your neck and really doing damage to it, why not sit out?
Well, and it doesn't involve his spine, which is great news, but it's still a muscular problem. And if you're Winfield at this point, you're right. You're 0-4. What's the incentive to play? And the other thing that Antoine knows is this. If he's going to play and be effective, he is a very good tackler. He initiates a lot of tackles. We're not talking about a guy who tries to lay off guys. His whole thing is to hit people.
And he throws his shoulder into them.
And how do you do it? Exactly. You do it with your neck. So I don't think he's going to take any risks here, and I don't blame him one bit.
And it's going to be interesting now to see how the Vikings match up. I would anticipate you're going to see Chris Cook playing left corner in the base defense and in the nickel. You'll see Asher Allen ending up playing in the slot. What the Arizona Cardinals do well is they'll get Larry Fitzgerald in a lot of stacks, use a lot of motion, do things to kind of confuse the IDs. If the Cardinals can figure out ways to isolate Larry Fitzgerald against Asher Allen, really Larry Fitzgerald against any of the corners, but particularly Asher, who's smaller, that can create a lot of trouble.
Yeah, now Chris Cook, I think at left corner actually could be okay. Chris Cook is a guy eventually, in a year or two, who should start for this team.
He has the skills to do it.
Yes. But right there, he's a second-round draft pick. He's a guy that essentially should be able to take over at some point. You're right, though. The concern gets to be the Vikings are in nickel or dime quite a bit, and now it gets dicey because if Winfield's not out there, if Asher Allen's out there, if Marcus Sherrills is out there, boy, that could be a long day. But you're right. If Arizona comes here with the right game plan, and that would be the first of the Vikings' 3 opponents to come to the Metrodome with a good game plan to start off with, because the Buccaneers and Lions were a complete joke when they came in here the first half. If Arizona comes here with the intent of throwing the ball down the field to Fitzgerald, it could be a long day no matter what happens.
I think that this is one game, too, where as much as Larry Fitzgerald is a deep threat, I think if you're the Vikings and you're a Tampa 2 team, you always are playing to take away. You're playing really deep zones with your safeties. You're trying to take away the deep ball. This is one game I would dare Kevin Cobb beat us over the top. Play single safety coverage, bring Jamarcus Sanford down in the box to stop Beanie Wells, make them attempt to beat guys on the perimeter one-on-one. The Cardinals like to spread things out, like to force teams into their nickel and dime defenses, but Kevin Cobb doesn't have elite downfield arm strength. He is a West Coast system passer all the way. Challenge him to beat you over the top. It would go against what they believe philosophically, but I think that's the way you have to play it, and that also then would have a way of gives your pass rush a little bit more time to get home.
But if that happens, Fitzgerald's going to have a huge day, right? And if that happens, it's a problem.
I think that you dare Cobb to hit the balls down the field as opposed to throwing a bunch of short passes to Larry Fitzgerald where then he can break the tackles and do damage underneath.
But the point being, Cobb might not be ideal in those situations, but if Cobb gets the ball in Fitzgerald's area code, odds are he catches it.
But I think from the start.
Right, no, I'm saying that's fine, but I don't see this as being a good situation for the Vikings.
Oh, no, it's absolutely not.
Now, my question is this. Are the Vikings going to try and blitz a little bit more? Ideally, in the Tampa 2, you don't want to blitz a lot. They didn't do that against Kansas City.
Right.
But do you try and bring more pressure and more exotic pressure on Cobb to try and throw him off, especially early on?
Well, yeah, and I think that that's going to be part of it. I think that you want to get the home crowd into it, frankly. I mean, it's overrated a lot of times when you have an 0-4 team coming back and playing at home against a Cardinals team that's not playing too well. Being able to get more heat on from the crowd. The Cardinals have terrible offensive tackles. You want to give your pass rushers, Robinson and Allen, who are playing as well as anybody on the team, give them time to get home. Now the question becomes, will Arizona bunker down like the Chiefs did, put 6, 7, 8 men in protection every single snap and basically say, listen, we're not letting you touch them. We'll put 2 or 3 guys in pattern and see what happens. I'm really interested to see how all that pans out. And then on the other side of the ball, what do you make of this Vikings offense in this game?
Well, Arizona, I think, is 26th in pass defense in this league. They've got one cornerback banged up. They're young in the secondary, at least at the corners. If the Vikings can't get a vertical game going against this team, then they might as well cash it in.
Not to mention the fact that they have Adrian Wilson, who is a strong safety by name, but really plays more like a fourth linebacker. They like to have him down in the box, play a lot of single safety coverage. It was there against the Chiefs. They took, I think, 3 shots down the field. They only hit on one of them. It was there in that game. You don't have the same defense with Arizona, but in terms of how they play the back end, there are some similarities.
I come out, if I'm the Vikings, if I'm Bill Musgrave, I come out in this game and I try and hit a couple downfield shots early on. Devin Aromashadu, who is emerging as a decent player. We don't know what the Vikings have in him yet, but he caught a touchdown pass. He looks like he can do the things Berrien can no longer do. Was, I believe, the target of 2 passes last Sunday.
16 snaps, which is the most he's played.
Now, Les Frazier said there were only that many chances to hit Aromashadu available. I don't buy that. I think if I'm the Vikings, what I do...
He wasn't out there much.
No, I know, but I get him out there more, and I try and hit him more. And you know what? Quite frankly, I get Berrien out there more. And I try... Because if the Vikings, if they come out slow on Sunday, you're right, the crowd's going to turn on them. They need to do things that are going to get that home crowd fired up a little bit. Because if that doesn't happen, what's going to happen on the sideline is this sense of we're 0-4, we're soon going to be 0-5. If they're 0-5, then we can sit here and do this video next Friday and have a serious Andrew Luck discussion. Now, I think the Colts are actually going to win that war. But my point being is, if you're the Vikings, you've got to do something, not only to get the crowd in it, but get your players confidence. Because they don't have that right now.
And it is tough to do that. Now, when Leslie Frazier took over as the interim coach last year, they were 3-7, I believe, at that point.
Yes.
I mean, they were pretty well done. And he managed to get a couple of good performances out of them. They didn't make a ton of plays against Washington, but they found a way to grind out that game. They made a bunch of plays against Buffalo in that weird situation.
They beat Washington because the quarterback was terrible. Unfortunately, he now trains across the street.
Correct. But then you have the Buffalo game where it's Tavares Jackson throwing to Sidney Rice, who hadn't played. They found ways to win. And then the Philadelphia game where we figured they were dead in the water after being snowed in for 2 days, along with us out in Philadelphia. And they managed to get up for that game. This will be a really interesting test of what Leslie Frazier is able to get out of this team, because if you look at which team has motivation here, Arizona plays in a terrible division, and they're 1-3, which is not nearly the hole that 0-4 is.
Well, they're 1-3 in a terrible division. Arizona, that is a winnable division. I'm not convinced that San Francisco's for real. They could easily fall back.
They're playing well, but they still have Alex Smith as their quarterback.
And we're very early on. So Arizona at 1-3 can look at this and say, we can still get in the playoffs. The Vikings are in a tough division, have no shot whatsoever of being a playoff team. If I'm the Vikings, though, the Philadelphia game under Frazier is the one that impressed me the most. And it impressed me because they sat in a hotel for, 3 days, but they also came out with a great game plan, and it surprised everybody. Fred Puckett blitzed Winfield left and right, and nobody saw that coming, including the Eagles. That's what I'm saying. This team isn't that good. If they're going to win games, they need to get creative. They can't come out and just say, this is what we do, and these things aren't open. They can't be black and white.
You can't not blitz until there's 3 minutes left in the third quarter,
but my point being,
Kansas City.
They also can't be just black and white about it. They're not good enough to say, this is what we do, we're going to do it. What they need to say is, how can we catch these teams by surprise? They caught the Eagles by surprise. And my point being, you come out there early Sunday and you try and hit on some downfield shots. If you hit them, that loosens things up for Peterson a little bit. All of a sudden, things start to flow a little bit better. But I don't have a lot of faith.
Why did you decide to outclass me today, by the way?
Not only did I outclass you, you were wearing like a Judd hoodie there.
I was trying to match you.
Fun and Judd were at Mariucci Arena this morning.
Well, it's Judd and Fun, isn't it?
Well, I'm just trying to give him some credit, too.
He's Judd, I'm Tom. We'll be at the Metrodome on Sunday. Full coverage always, 1500 ESPN.com. See ya.